Great. And hi guys. So we're live on Mr. Sci-Fi. So great. So Paul, why don't we do you first since you're in the UK? Then we can have
Bit late there.
Yeah, it must be like what?
It's 25 to 2.
Well, there you
Oh,
go.
wow.
There you go.
Well, your game.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why don't you go for it?
This might be the last of the Zoom meetings.
We're gonna do something to allow the Zoom people to be part of this moving forward, even if we are meeting in person. We're just trying to figure out how best to do that. But we will be doing that.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for having the Zoom meetings over these years.
Sure.
Because being so far away, I can only come when I'm out in Los Angeles. Secondly, how did you get to England? Which airline?
We flew, I think it was Delta flying there and Virgin Air flying back. They've kind of formed a partnership. And yeah.
Yeah, because I'm supposed to be coming out in June to July.
Great.
The prices have been absolutely through the roof.
Yeah.
Anything up to £4,000 a person.
No, you can get it much lower deals. It was about 700 round trip for us per person. So yeah, and it was a bizarre story where we were going to be shooting in Sicily, and then we put this British trip on top of that. But then the Sicily thing ended up not happening because the movie got pushed where it didn't make any more sense. But we kept the London trip and also Hay on Wye in Wales because that's a bookstore town. And
oh, you're joking! Wales is just down the road from me.
Well, next time we'll remember that. We'll remember that. It's but mainly it was for us to decompress and
But I wish you'd known. We met with somebody else from Neath.
We met with Sally Hayne and her daughter Connie, who Sally is Lord Peter Hayne's sister, and we've been working on it. Yeah, we've been working on a miniseries about Lord Peter and his family again, fighting apartheid and all that stuff. So, cool. But how are you doing, Paul?
I do a lot of filming in Wales as well because it's literally through the tunnel and the other side. And,
yeah.
So.
Well, next time.
But I've been very busy, so I've been getting up rather early in the mornings. That's why I've not been coming to some of the meetings. But I just keep an eye on all the emails and find out what everyone's doing.
Great. Well, that's great. So is there anything you need? Anything we can be of help with?
And what have you been up to?
Well, I've done quite a few small movies. I've got another 3 coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I've just won 2 awards.
Yay.
Okay.
But it's just one of those things. You just keep on plugging away, and one day that big one will come.
Yes. But well, yeah. So anything else for now?
No, fine. I'm fine. I'm going to go to bed in a minute.
Yes. Exactly.
My gardener's coming in early in the morning to fix my lawnmower.
Well, there you go.
It's about 6 foot deep at the minute. I've got about 100-foot square back garden. So.
Wow, that's fun. Well, that's great. So, and by the way, a tip for how to seem attentive when you're really tired is paint eyes on your eyelids so that you look really wide awake and attentive even though you're sleeping. So that'll work.
There is one question.
Yes, please.
I've got an idea for a TV show.
Good.
How do I pitch it to the TV companies?
See, it's tricky because the issue is what's going to first of all legitimize you to a point where they'll pay attention, and secondly, what's going to be the thing that's going to make them want to buy it. It's the real way to do it is to affiliate with someone who's already got a track record, someone they want to work with. So I would affiliate with a producer. For instance, one of the producers we met with in London this time was a friend of ours who produced Good Omens with Neil Gaiman. And he was an executive for many years at BBC, and there he knows all the people. But
now, did you want to sell it in the opening to open? Do you want to sell it in the US or Great Britain?
Right, I want to sell it in both.
Yeah.
US. It's going to be a little bit. It's a chat show.
Oh, good.
Okay.
It's going to be based on. I don't want to give too much away because somebody will steal it.
No, yeah, it's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
it's going to be introducing different people who have done different things.
Yes.
And there'll be outside broadcasts as well.
Yes.
Going to different places where these people have been.
Sure.
But I think it's one of those things that could be sold all worldwide.
Great. What I would suggest is you can also, there are certain conferences like NatP and also Content LA and Content London, and Variety puts on something where the actual programming execs come, and they're very accessible. And in fact, there's one happening next Friday here in LA that Michelle DaCosta and I are going to be going to, because it's like the head of Paramount Plus and the head of Netflix and on and on. I mean, programming presidents, and whether that will lead to anything, I can't say, but meeting people in person really helps a lot.
And knowing what you're going to say to catch their attention,
Yeah.
the fact that you've been making films and getting awards, being able to present that in as powerful a way as possible, and also having a filmed bit of presentation
Yes.
of what they're going to be seeing, because they sort of zone out on the writing. We all like to write up something.
Yes.
But they get so much of that, it becomes sort of fuzzy
yes.
in their heads.
And
But if you film something and they get a sense of the tone and who you are.
There's another way of doing it too, which is what we're doing with Space Command, which is you actually just start shooting it. You make your own YouTube channel, which is free, and you start shooting episodes, and you gather a fan base, and then that can be what gets you the deal with the big boys. And so that's another way of doing it. I strongly believe in creating content.
But one thing that is critical for you, or very, very helpful, is research, and you see what buyers for whom it would make sense, where they already know how to penetrate that particular market.
Yes.
And so the more that it's like your tone, your market, where it wouldn't be, oh, that's not the way our people.
Yes.
That's not what we're selling to our people.
But just go for it. I mean, just start wherever you start and be bold. I mean, it's like there's no. I mean, you just start on that journey. But yeah, what else? Anything else?
No.
Nope. Okay. Yay! Features.
It was lovely seeing you all again, and
you too.
To everyone.
Okay, great.
If you do another Zoom, I'll
Great.
Oh, great.
Great.
Lovely.
Great. And when you're here in town, it'll be good to see you again. So that'll be great. Yeah.
Are
okay.
you still having to wear masks everywhere?
No, and we probably will again, because there'll probably be another,
But unlike we flew Virgin, and I really liked Virgin.
Yeah, it's a great airline.
Back. It was a very good airline. There was no mask on the British side. But as soon as we hit the LA airport, we did need to put on a mask.
Yes.
But not once we left the airport.
Yeah, right. It's right.
Did you have to wear a mask on the planes?
I think we wore one on the trip to London, but not coming back. So everyone's trying to figure out what the rules are,
Right now, as of that day, I mean, things are changing daily.
Yes.
As of that time, on the British side and flying on the British plane, we did not have to wear masks flying over there. In the American airport and on the American plane, we had to wear masks.
Yes.
Because where this wedding is in Lake Arrowhead.
And
it's for the Earth family as well, so it's a celebrity type wedding anyway.
Wow. Well, I mean, the main thing is just making sure that you're slender enough to fit into that Marilyn Monroe dress.
Yes.
Oh, you've seen it before.
Yeah, but the main, rather than being concerned about masks, I mean, the main thing I'd be concerned about is wildfires, because it's wildfire season now, and there's nothing in Lake Arrowhead happening right now, and let's hope that'll be the case when you get here. It's
but generally the way we were doing it here in LA, because it's so cash as cash can, is we just have something in our pocket.
Yeah, a mask.
A mask.
She means.
A mask in our pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you'll just see it outside of the establishment. Masks required, masks not required.
You just roll with it. It's not a big deal, despite what some nutcases think.
But England, by and large, was much looser.
What I saw was that older people in England were wearing the mask because, of course, they have a higher risk of death. But it was very much voluntary. So yeah. So great. Anything else, Paul?
Most of us all had three injections.
Yes.
Or 4.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. No, we've had 4.
Yes,
so
me too.
So we're fine and dandy. Though I must say it is stressful. When you have to get back to America, you have to have a test within like the previous day. And
Oh,
you
right.
you have that test
You
and you
know.
feel fine, but you think, Jesus, if I come down with if it's a test that's positive, I'm going to be stuck in England for a few more weeks.
But
You
it's
know,
but what we had to do, we went to just to any local pharmacy and
Yeah.
they had the thing,
it was
and it
great.
was called a fit to fly. And you
Yeah,
just the day
yeah,
before
yeah.
you
Not a
go,
problem.
you just do a little swab yourself in your nose,
Right.
and then they attach it to your phone. You
Mhm.
just bring in your passport, and
Yes.
then they ship it onto your phone, and then you show it to them at the airport.
Yep. So there you go. But great. Well, great seeing you, Paul, and more adventures to
Okay.
come.
And
Okay.
hopefully next time I'm out there, I can do something on Space Command.
That'll be
Oh,
great. We can,
yes.
yeah, we'll put you in a spacesuit. You bet. You bet. So,
So you can't see my face.
well, funnily enough, I just got a call from Justin Pinchot, who is Bronson Pinchot's brother, and he sold me a whole bunch of space stuff from the TV show Space Patrol, and he just found several more boxes of stuff from that show from the 1950s. And I told him that we recently shot a scene in Space Command on a boarding, a boarding platform on a space station, and I actually wore some of the costumes from Space Patrol that he sold us. So it was really fun to let him know that that stuff is back on camera again. So he was very gratified by that. So yeah, we've got a ton of stuff now that we can put our actors into.
Just one last question.
Sure.
Do you know when you're looking for your actors?
Yes.
Do you look at their IMDb profile
No.
of where they've been and everything else?
No. I mean, sometimes I might, but we cast two kinds of people in Space Command. People who are terrific actors who already have a name, like Doug Jones or Mira Furlan or Bob Picardo, etc. And we also cast, actors who are not well known, but can also deliver the specifics that we need, delivered.
Well, we look
So
at their reels.
yeah, we
IMDb
look
is
at what they
very-
can do.
Yeah, the reels, or we ask them to do a scene. IMDb can be very touch and go in terms of
It doesn't
giving
tell you
information.
enough. It doesn't tell
No,
you enough.
You want to see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Over the years, the highest I've been on IMDb is 1,004.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
that's pretty good.
It's good or bad.
Yeah, that's great.
But no, we would look at your work. We'd say, well, what have you done? We'd look at clips. We always ask for clips.
Yes.
And give people our email.
And it also depends on if we have a role that's right. Because many times there are many actors that I want to work with and who would love to work with us, and there's just no role to plug them into yet. But
an actress in Russia wanted to be in it
in Space Command before the Ukraine war.
Before the war,
yeah.
And we got on the computer with her. We sent her
auditioned her.
We auditioned her over the computer, and that's how she got in with a very good audition. So.
Well, listen, I've got a couple of messages here which I need to answer.
Sure, okay. You bet.
So I'm going to say thank you.
You bet.
And you need to get some sleep as well.
Yes, I think we do.
I think it's true.
Goofy,
I think it's true. Well, thanks, Paul. So we'll see you next time. Yay!
Bye.
3 cheers. So, David, is there a Mr. Sci-Fi question?
There is. First of all, Max World Entertainment, a brand new person.
Great. Hi.
Says, love that uniform.
Thank you. Yeah, it's cool because, it'd be a little too geeky to be in like a Star Trek from the original show, or or be in a next gen jumpsuit or whatever. I mean, though I have on occasion worn those things, but I just really loved that first pilot. It had such possibility and potential. The one starring Jeffrey Hunter. If you've never seen the first for those who don't know, Star Trek originally was made as a pilot in 1964 for CBS, didn't get picked up. Then they shot a second pilot with William Shatner in the lead. That did get picked up by NBC, and the show debuted in 1966. So, but this is a costume from the original one. So okay, so
let's see if we can get Judith Smiley. Are you there?
Mm-hmm.
We'll do Judith, and then we'll do you, Hedvig.
Yeah, Hedvig.
So
let's get Judith because she's got 2 new puppies.
Yeah, go for it.
Hi, Judith. Can you?
How are you doing?
How are you doing? Can you get on? Can we hear your voice? Unmute.
Uh-oh. Let's see what happens.
Hi, Judith.
Hey, hang on. Let's see.
She's returned your dog. She has new ones for
Yes.
her.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. How you doing?
Looking for punishment.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi,
They
Judith.
are the cutest things that they're in their crate now. I can carry the the thing over, but I'll show you. They are just the most adorable. I stopped to get a Petco for 2 minutes, and the woman said to me, I said, you look very tired. I said, I just drove up to Victorville, 5 hours in the car to pick up my corgis. You have corgis? The whole store ran out to see the dog. They are so adorable.
Ah,
That's great.
They are just adorable. They're really cute. They're in the crate now. They're a little, they're huddling together. I'm going to go play with them in a minute.
Mhm.
okay.
So I'm not going to stay very long. Nothing else has been happening except dogs. Dogs
Yes.
on one side and dogs on the other.
Dogs do it. Yeah.
Well, my mother always said I was a bitch, so.
Uh-huh.
But now I've got the house together and the dogs and everything's ready, so I can. And they sleep 14 to 16 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
so I can work and I can write while I'm doing that. While they're sleeping, and that's it. I'm so tired. I can't see straight. I'm going to get off now.
Great.
I
Okay.
love you both. I'm so glad you're back. Elaine, call me. I want to hear about your adventures.
Yeah.
Come over and see the puppies because I want to get them socialized as much as possible.
Sure.
They are so adorable. They are just adorable. Once I figure out how to use my phone, I'll send you a picture.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay, see you soon. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Yay.
Yay.
Bye. So, David, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
I can't do it.
Oh, uh-oh.
You also have a question in chat.
There you go. Okay.
Oh. Okay, good. So Scott Baker says, Mr. Sci-Fi, welcome home.
Thanks.
Will the black hole at our galaxy's center be part of the Space Command story now that we have a picture of the bugger? It needs a fan club.
Wow, I wasn't aware that they had a picture of it.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Wow, I'll definitely check it out. It's a significant part of another show we're doing called Dante's Station, which is sort of it's about a New York cop and his very, very troubled teenage daughter who are transferred to a mining colony near the center of the galaxy. It's a show Michael Reeves and I created, and our friend Chris Wyatt, who produced Napoleon Dynamite, and now is a showrunner on a number of animated shows. He loves that project, and we may be doing it together with him as part of the Showrunners Network. So, but we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a very interesting year. So, cool. So, Hedvig, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you need.
Hi guys, thank you for having me. So I am Hedvig, I'm London based, and I've been doing art department jobs freelance, but now I'm trying to transition into more of a production assistant, researcher kind of role.
Cool.
So mostly I need advice with that because I do have some experience in production offices, but since I'm more on set based, I'm having some issues finding a steady job,
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, anytime there's an event or a speaker whose work you love, go to the event. And if they're major people, their entire team is sitting in the first row or two. So rather than trying to talk to, Christopher Nolan or whatever, talk to his people, listen to what they're saying, and you'll hear who's like his right-hand person or whatever, or you can research it beforehand using Google Image and, IMDb, and talk to those people and say, hey, this is who I am, and I'm really interested in breaking in and being a PA and blah, blah, blah. And if you do that 5 or 10 times, somebody's going to give you a shot because, but I strongly believe in meeting people in person because, like you and I met in person, and that's why you're here. And the fact that you would stay up till 2 a.m. to be part of this is indicative of a certain commitment to what your goals are, because 90% or 99% of people that I invite to the table don't show up, even if and they might not be a continent away, they might be a few blocks away. And so persistence is the most important thing.
Well,
and
we do hire. I mean, most people hire based on enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Because it's such a hard job, and you want enthusiasm on the set and people who are willing to help everybody else.
Yes.
And do you have any samples of your work?
Yeah, she sent them. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
we have them.
So great.
But obviously, if you're ever in LA, you can come to our studio, and we utilize people a lot. And David Bartlett runs our physical studio for us. And Dave Edison is our editor, and many of the other people on screen have done various and sundry to aid us. We're like that black hole at Center Galaxy. We swallow everything that comes near, and
it is a little easier here than in London.
Yes,
people here, it's a pretty big industry, and people do introduce people to people pretty readily.
Yes,
and they say, "Oh, I know so and so and so and so." So the more you can get to know people via the net, you know, with your work, and internationally, people help people. Like with our company, thanks to David Bartlett, we've been able to like set things up just as, you know, free of charge, just to help them stay by you know, with contracts and things like that, to help them get a work permit. But you know, the main thing is to seem extremely enthusiastic and always have your work easily accessible and at hand.
Yes.
And to just have that high energy attitude. We've broken off with the people that we've not worked with, that we started to and then quickly not work with, are people who were they had less than love of their work.
Well, no, it's more than that. We bring our A game to everything we do. So whether I was writing a Smurfs episode or doing, you know, the Star Trek episode with George Takei or any of those various things, it's always my A game. I'm always swinging for the fences. My friend Frank Spotnitz, who created Man in the High Castle and ran X-Files, said, you always aim for the fences because maybe then you'll get a single. You know, it's a baseball thing. There's a sport we have here in America. But the point being that there's a line producer we were hiring at one point. We'd actually hired him, and he said that, well, you know, the less he's paid, the less hard he works. So if it's good money, he'll really bring it, and if it's like not good money, he'll do a shitty job. And it's like, and that was unbeknownst to him, that was the conversation where we ended working with him. We stopped working with him because it was like, look, we can't pay you.
We could see,
you know,
what was going on. He said, well, if you get paid less for your work,
no,
don't you do as good a job?
No.
So you're like, what do you mean? I'm working for free for several people, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
and I
you bring your A game. You bring your A game.
Once you say yes, you bring your A game.
Yeah, of course, because and there are reasons for that are not just obvious ones. I mean, for instance, in the new book, in Greenlighting Yourself, the book I just wrote, you know, there was a guy who was working for a little low budget science fiction and horror movie company, and he would work. He was a visual effects guy, and he would work. He knew he could either work till 11 and just do an okay job, or work till 2 a.m, and most people would not notice what he was doing, but he would be doing it to the best of his abilities. And finally, after a few years of doing this, assuming that no one was paying attention, a director called him and said, listen, I know most people wouldn't notice what you're doing, but I have, and I want to hire you. My name's Peter Jackson, and I'm doing a movie called Lord of the Rings. And when I had lunch with this VFX guy, he had just won 3 Oscars for the 3 Lord of the Rings movies. And so you know, that's another good reason to always do your best. You know. So anything else you need?
I think that's it. Thank you guys. So that's really
great.
Helpful. Thanks for the advice.
Yeah, and David later on will talk about how to sign up for the table email. It's a very powerful tool.
And as there are people that it's a very large network, and as there are people you might say, hey, I feel I'd be a really good fit for this person, this company.
Yes.
You just put it out there and see if anybody knows anybody.
Yes. Once you're on the table email, you can send out one email to all several thousand people at once, and they send you their requests as well. And so it's absolutely fine to send an email saying, I'm in London. I want to, you know, start as a PA or whatever. I'm open to any advice, you know.
I have this background. Here's an attachment of my stuff.
Yes. And again, you know, I mean, the girl from Russia that we just cast, she flew all the way from Moscow for the recent shoot that we had, and she was great. She was great.
So I mean, she was trying for just a few lines, but she ended up with a role because she was good.
Yeah. So there you go. So welcome. 3 cheers. Good to see you. Yay. Thanks. So David, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we have a new person whose name is Morning Light.
Hi.
And Morning Light says, what do you think of the work on the Star Wars universe ever since Disney took it over?
Well, it's a mixed bag, you know. Some people are doing better work. Some people are doing worse work. I was very disappointed in the JJ trilogy because it kind of went all over the place and didn't really pay off. Mandalorian, I've watched a little of it. It's better. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big Star Wars fan because I was the wrong age when that movie came out. JJ's a huge Star Wars fan, not a big Star Trek fan, because he was the right age. You have to be a kid or a teenager when those, you know, major life-changing movies happen to you. And for me, it was Star Trek because I was, as I said, I was 10 when that debuted. So you know, I was much more interested in Strange New Worlds to see if they would pull it off than I am particularly in Mandalorian or the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. You know, you know, and I'm not down on that in any way, but the problem always with any science fiction story is how do you make it fresh? How do you make it exciting? How do you make characters that are engaging and that you want to take the journey with? And that's the ongoing problem. And I think JJ is a good synthesizer of what's gone before, but he's not an innovator in the way that Kubrick was, or Gene Roddenberry, or Rod Serling, or any number of people. So whereas I think we got the Star Trek franchise going again, he got the Star Wars franchise going again. He didn't really, you know, it's like there's nothing really lasting in what he's doing, I don't think so. But you know, be that as it may. So let's see. So David Bartlett, do you want to introduce yourself and say who you are, or what would you?
Sure.
Cool. Good.
I'm just dealing with a chat here.
Okay.
My name is David Bartlett. I am a filmmaker, a teacher, and a human rights activist, and a producer on Space Command.
Yay.
Space Command has interesting news, but let's save that for part 2. Part 1 is my part.
Good.
So I just got back from a film festival where I was with a film that I produced, and we were the principal new film in the festival in a town called Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. This is a real name and a real place because I have been there. It's outside about 45 minutes from Spaceport.
Wow.
So I had someone driving me around and showing me sights when I was there. And I saw a spaceport from the outside, and I saw the spaceship that Branson flew himself in. He didn't fly himself, but he was flying in. And the spaceport itself and the runway in the middle of nowhere. And when I was driving back, the song El Paso came on, you know, la 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 la, that famous song.
Yes.
And in the song, the man goes to El Paso and he falls in love with a girl, and he's on the run from the police. So he leaves and he goes to the Badlands of New Mexico. And we were driving through the Badlands of New Mexico while the song was on the radio. So I have a little video of us driving through the Badlands with the song playing. So that's kind of interesting and fun. He goes back because he can't stand being away from the girl. And of course, they shoot him and kill him. But anyway, so the trip was fun. I was in a parade. I haven't done that before. The parade went through the town. The town is 4 blocks this way, 2 across, and 4 blocks that way. But it was lined with people, and everyone had a good time. We threw candy at the people, and they loved it. And it was like Halloween for them. It was very interesting and strange, unexpected experience. They have mineral baths there in the pools next to the rooms, and it was a very unusual. I spent 6 hours helping them rebuild their movie theater. I brought wires from LA actually to rewire their speakers, which worked, and we had a good screening, and they were very happy. So anyway, that just happened. I have had Space Command things going on that are very exciting. So that's part of my personal career too, of course. So I might as well move on to Space Command. It is after 1,800 plus visual effects, we've just received the last visual effect.
Yay!
And it's pretty good. We might do one more version of it, but it's definitely good enough to put in and be good to go. So that's been a huge undertaking for the last, well, more than 2.5 years, but 2.5 or 3 years since I've been full-time doing just that. And the perks for the Kickstarter campaigns that we've done 7 campaigns. I've been in charge of that too. There are 173 perks that have to be delivered, but we're now finishing the last perk.
Yay!
So that's a cool thing. Now we have other things coming up, like forgiveness has to be completed, the shooting has to be done, things like that. But things that we can deliver now, there's only 1 left. So that's an awesome thing too. Out of 8,500 individual perk requests. So there you go. There's an example. Last Christmas, we sent out 12,000 electronic perks and got quite a few of those out. So that's almost done too. Excuse me. So that's exciting. And we're always gearing up to shoot more. So if you're interested in working on Space Command, you want to be painting some sets, or you want to be being a PA or whatever field that you're involved with, We don't have a production manager right now. We don't have, we need a couple of camera people, a couple of grips and electrics. We're always looking for makeup at the last minute. It seems we have makeup people and hair people that come along, but sometimes they're not available on a certain day. So there's all kinds of jobs possible for Space Command in the near future. For all of that, you can talk to me, which brings me to the next thing, the table email. I'm also in charge of that. Now I just put in the chat here my, I'm going to finish my email right now, and you can email me and get on the table email. And there you go. There's a couple of instructions there. We've got a couple of new people here. And that, if it's not clear, you can type me a chat message here and I'll get back to you. And so, let's see. I always try to tell a new story each week. I think the story of this projection room was interesting. It's this little movie theater that was shut down for COVID. So all in one day, they had their first fiesta in town in 2 years. They had their first parade in 2 years, and they love parades there, apparently. It's their favorite thing. And it was the first time the movie theater had been open and ran a film in 2 years. So it was auspicious for me to be there that day because I helped do all three of those, but especially the movie theater. They have a movie theater system that dates back to 1975. And I know that because at that time, sound in cinema was either monaural in the center, or you had a special print that was shipped with multiple soundtracks of magnetic sound, like a cassette tape, except in film version, like 70 millimeter 6-track. If you wanted more than one speaker to play, you had to have a special print and a special, very expensive sound system. And this guy came along and he said, well, why don't we take the soundtracks from the film, make it so you can have 3 speakers in the front from just 2 soundtracks on the film. Well, how do you do that? Well, he figured it out. He developed something called ultra stereo. So then another company came along and said, well, there's this new filmmaker that wants the sound to start behind the theater and go to the front. How can we do that? So they figured out how to take this guy's ultra stereo and make that another track. So there's now 4. And that was called the surround channel. And that filmmaker was George Lucas, and that film was Star Wars. So you had to license the special surround channel from Dolby Stereo, by the way, who made that new system. So the ultra stereo people had to pay extra for that and have speakers and a special box. This theater never did that. So they only had 3. They don't have surround speakers. They don't have 5.1. They don't have a subwoofer. They didn't have any of that. So I had to figure out how to get film to play, which, by the way, was mixed in 5.1 on 3 speakers, which I did, and rewired those speakers and got everything set up differently so they could run DVDs and files off their computer and files off their DCP projector, all now together, which they couldn't have done before. And it only took me 6 hours. So that was challenging. So I had to fly to Albuquerque with 2 planes and then take a 2-hour car ride to get to Truth or Consequences. And nicknamed it T or C, by the way, for the locals. So I went straight to the theater, got it working, and then we were good to go. So that's my story of Mr. Hollywood for today.
Great. Cool.
How to go to the middle of nowhere, New Mexico, and get their theater to work.
Cool.
So, you know, the story there really is that as a filmmaker, you really have to put your mind to it to get something done. It sounds like an obvious statement, but the physical universe is rigged to protest any changes. That's why it's there. We are there to challenge it and make changes. Writing a script is a change. Fixing movie theater speakers is a change. Finishing Space Command's visual effects. These are all changes. And the physical universe doesn't like changes.
No.
So you have to get your nose to the grind and never give up and keep going until you've changed it exactly the way you want it to be changed. And that's really the big inspirational, thing that I'm going off of right now. You just can't give up. You cannot stop. You've got to keep going with the changes. So I guess that's it for me.
Okay.
Yay.
Cool. Yay. 3 cheers. So, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Indeed. Bruce Moore says, Mr. Sci-Fi, what do you think of the premiere episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds?
Well, interesting that you ask, because I'm just about to post my video, my Mr. Sci-Fi video review of the episode. I thought it was a very good start. I think it's in the right direction. And it isn't, oddly enough, it was a sequel to the Star Trek, the Next Generation episode that I came up with, First Contact. And the movie that inspired that idea was Dave the Earth Stood Still, which they reference in this episode of Strange New World. So it's kind of a sequel to the episode of Next Gen that I came up with. So small world or small galaxy or small universe. I thought it was the best of the shows they've debuted so far in terms of the live action shows. I think that having it be one story per episode rather than an arc story that takes the entire season is a very good idea, because then if they have, a good episode, it's over in an hour, and if they have a bad episode, it's over in an hour. But I like the cast, I like the visual design, and we'll see where it goes. But so far, so good. So cool. So Dave Edison, do you want to take your turn? Go for it.
Hello, everyone. For those of you on Zoom, I'm looking up here because I'm working on some plates to send out to our color correction
Yes.
session. And another scene just showed up. We need plates for this scene. So, all right, fine.
Oh, I forgot to say, I had a very edifying conversation with Mitch Susskind,
Oh, great.
Emmy award-winning fellow who's giving us advice in a couple of key scenes.
Great.
And Dave is now responding in kind to that
Good
call that I had with Mitch today by finding plates for us for the series scene.
That's great.
Oh,
That's
great.
great. Because again, it's like, this is why it's very good to make contact with people before you need them, to establish those relationships and friendships before you need their expertise, because then they're more likely to help you because they're invested in you.
Mitch is on another show.
Yes.
Who's working super full time, and he said, call me anytime. I haven't called him in 5 months.
Yeah.
6 months. So when I did call, he freed up time 3 hours later.
That's
I talked to
great.
him for half an hour.
Yeah, and this is a guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is a guy who's won 3 Emmys for Star Trek and other shows he's worked on, and been nominated for 8. And
he
he's
doesn't have to help us.
Yeah, he's one of the giants of visual effects in television. And as soon as I have the money to pay him, what he will pay him as my VFX supervisor. But we're not.
Tell me what New York rates are.
Yes.
And it might be a minute.
Yeah, really? Yeah. Are they lower or are they higher?
To have a marble roll across the floor by itself was $1,500.
Okay, well.
Give you guys an example. We would do a shot like that on our budget for $200 or $300.
Yeah, or less. Yeah, or we'd make a giant marble and just put a guy inside of it pushing it. So
you know what he said, how he solved the problem?
How?
He rolled a marble across his table and filmed it with his own camera, and they stuck it in.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, but again, these guys from the dawn of television, essentially, they're very inventive. Sometimes the simple answer is the right one, rather than going around the moon. And so yeah, I think a practical is always a very good idea to look at. For a lot of reasons. But okay, cool. So so Dave, is it your turn? I'm sorry. Go for it.
Middle of it, yeah.
So I'm working on these plates.
Yeah.
I'll get back to that in a moment. But we're looking to get this 2 hours out. I could give you a realistic timeline, but let's let somebody else say when it'll be out.
Yeah.
But anyway, it'll be something to do in the middle of the summer.
Yes.
Sit down and watch it. So anyway, so moving along, I wanted to mention just point of order that yesterday would have been our friend, the late Jim Metropole's 88th birthday.
Oh,
Wow.
We lost Jim earlier this year. He was in this first 2-hour episode of Space Command. He played a fellow named Jim Metropole.
Yes.
It was a stretch.
Yes.
We wanted to put a little pressure on him as possible. And he was everyone's favorite curmudgeon. And
Yes, he was
a very nice guy. He had a stroke a few years back, was winding down a bit, and then a case of COVID ended everything. So and we just wanted to remember Jim.
Great. Well, thank you, Dave.
Great
and the lovely thing is that the 2 scenes we wrote for him in Space Command, he's really good in them. I mean, he had been in TV shows like Night Gallery, things like that. He'd been a successful actor back in the day, and I wrote the scene to be very much like he was in real life. So it always, whenever I see those scenes, it's like visiting him again. So I'm really glad that we were able to do that.
And he formed a close, father-son relationship with another member.
Yes, Mike Lopez, who sadly we also lost. So
But
you know,
for a different reason.
yeah,
But they had become really very close and living together, and they had two people who would have been a little bit isolated in later years became
yes,
very close.
yeah, yeah. So it's cool.
His website, the last time I checked a week or so ago, was still online. And I'm trying to find out exactly. I think it was Jim Metropole Gallery, but that may not be right, or James. But
Okay.
I'll find it and pass it along if you want to take a look at some of his photography, because he was an award-winning, or I don't know, award-winning, but he was a famous rock and roll photographer as well.
Yes.
In his earlier days. So anyway.
And also, if you can't find that website, just put it out of Table's email, and I'm sure someone will remember.
I'll find it.
Yeah.
Anyway, just wanted to mention that, and so we will get this thing done. I was going to say sooner than later, but sooner or later.
Okay.
So anyway, I hope it'll be fun for everybody and worth your wait.
Yay! 3 cheers.
Mark, there was one funny Jim Metropole thing I remember about him being a curmudgeon. He loved theater, and he used to go and review plays, and he hated every play he saw.
Yes.
And he would go on and on and on about how bad the play was that he had seen that week.
Yes.
Sometimes 2 or 3 at a time. And then finally, after a tirade, he would end with, "But I love theater and I have to keep going."
Yeah. Yeah. It's
the website is Metropole Gallery.
Wow.
METROPOLE Gallery. One word.
Great.
Anyway, there you go.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Yay. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, David?
They're piling up.
Yes.
We have, from a person called Age Haynes, AGE, or maybe it's not pronounced Age, maybe it's Ajay or something. I would like to get corrected on that, actually. What do you think about urban fiction or fantasy? I think futuristic science fiction helps develop fascinating creativeness for supporting urban fantasy or fiction based on imagination.
Okay. Well, first of all, Elaine and I wrote a pilot called Magic Time that we're going to be shooting, and that was spun off of 3 novels that I wrote and so the Magic Time, you can find them online, and they're published by HarperCollins, and that's urban fantasy. All the machines in the world stop running, and magic comes back. But so I think it's great, as long as it tells a good story, it's and I believe also, of course, in hopeful visions of the future as well, which is what we're doing with Space Command. So it's always you can find meaning in almost any genre if you have something you want to say that's valid and uplifting. We did Westerns too when I was a producer on Lazarus Man, and that was it was very fun to write Westerns as well. There's a lot that science fiction has in common with them, larger than life characters and so forth. So, okay, cool. So I guess it's you, Carol, next on my screen.
Welcome back. I always have cultural shock coming back. Not there. I get so excited to get off the plane.
Yes, yes.
So I hope I have a large family in London and Brighton.
Wow.
I love London so much. So welcome back, and I hope you carry it with you for a long time. I just found this. Jimmy Metropole shot this.
Wow. How fun.
A long time ago.
That's great. That's great.
I have a couple interesting things. I missed you, but David Bartlett did a very good job. But before I say a couple things, the gentle female has just come on, and she has a question for you in the chat.
Okay, sure.
There's a question for you in the chat. Just thought I'd tell you that.
Okay.
I just want to tell you this. A couple weeks ago, just before you left, I was in a staged reading, and she had a lot of people there, although it was not that good. I had the lead, but the part was written in all exposition. It was really not a good part. It was boring. But this couple called me last week, and they said they'd like me to be in their stage reading. So I thought I'd pull rank. I said, I'm talking to the woman, and I said, well, I have some stipulations. And she said, oh. And I said, yeah, if your show goes, I have to go with it. I want a contract before I read for you. You do? I said, yeah. She said, well, we think we're going to get Minnie Driver. And I said, you want me in the stage reading? Minnie will sell it. I'll just take you to dinner. I mean, it's like, why do you want me in the stage reading? And then her husband got on. I said, hello, I am Abel, and we saw you in Belle's stage reading. He was very nice. He said, you have a really wide range. And I don't know how he can tell anybody has wide range because it was written so poorly. Then I said, I'm going to have a good timer. I said, you know what? I'm also going to charge you. And they went, what? SAG minimum? I went, no, 10. And they went, 10 SAGs? I said, no, 10. They said, what's 10? I said, $10. So I said, so if you want me to read, you have to sign a contract and I'm going to go with the show and send me $10. And she went like, I completely threw her off and she hasn't called me back.
Yeah.
So I don't care. I just wanted to, enough. I mean, I'll make her look good, but let work with me.
Yes.
So I took a chance. I'll let you know if she calls me back.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun. I was doing nothing, but it was kind of,
yes.
It was kind of a hoot.
Yes.
What else did I? Yeah. American film market on Zoom in November. And this lovely woman who's got, I might have told you this, who's running a Poco Publications. It's a new publication in Australia. They want to bypass agents and just have everybody go there for their actors, writers, scene designers, everything. And she called me and she's going, I might have told you this, I don't know, but she said she's going to Cannes and she wants to take my Dating Down book in Thailand to pitch at Cannes.
Wow. Cool.
I know. And I was just very, oh God, I wish I was one of them. I was just very excited. And so, I don't know, I'll let you know what happens with that.
Cool.
And please be careful. I have an immunologist friend in England, and he said we will be upticking with this stupid thing until the end of May.
Yes.
So everybody just wear masks and just be really careful.
Yeah.
And that's all for now. But
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Great. Yay. 3 cheers. So what is the question that was on the chat?
Yes.
Carol, you want to do it? And Rosemary Lockhorse says, could you repeat some of the names of the conference?
Oh, yeah, sure. There's one called Content LA that is happening next Friday here in Los Angeles. There's one called Content London. There's another one that Variety puts on. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a conference where showrunners come and heads of networks and so forth. There's Produced By, which is held here in Los Angeles. There's one in Europe. I mean, like in Belgium or something, but I don't remember the name of it. What else? Which other ones are there? I'm just going through it in my head. There's Cannes, as was mentioned. There's NATPE, which is NATPE, which used to be in Las Vegas. I don't know where the hell it is now. Those are some of the places you can go. I think if you just did a Google search, you could find a lot of things. I mean, the main thing is always look at who the speakers are, but also find out whether they keep the speakers physically away from the audience, because some of them, the ones that charge more money, usually allow more access because they assume that only like network executives are going to be going, or legit people, because it's expensive. But for instance, Produced By, they made it very sure that if there was a panel, they were ushered out by security. They were not, you couldn't talk to them, you couldn't get close to them. It was very frustrating. Whereas with Content LA or some of the other ones, the speakers hang around after the panels, and they want to talk to you, and they want to hear if you have an idea or want to pitch something. It's much less formal, and so that's a good thing. So okay, cool. So let's see. So Steve, I guess you're next on my screen. Go for it.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks, Mark.
Sure.
Steve Sasaki. Sorry, I didn't change to put my full name up there. But, I just wanted to log in. I saw that this may be the last Zoom, and so I just wanted to touch base.
Sure.
And be a part of this. I guess as far as what's going on, I wrote a short script that relates to the Japanese American incarceration. And there were 2 grants, one state grant and one federal grant. And actually both of them were supposed to hear before the 1st of June, somewhere around the 1st of June. So
Good luck.
if we get both, that would be wonderful, and we'll be able to make something. And if we get one, we're not sure exactly where that will leave us, but so that's exciting. We had applied for the federal one last year and didn't get it, but we're very close, we were told. And then we were provided some input on how to make the application stronger. So there's a lot of hope this year. And I wrote a half-hour TV pilot pretty closely based with a lot of my personal experiences, in part Japanese American that has a son that served in the Israeli army and died while in service. And in the TV pilot, it's a half hour, actually a comedy, but pretty serious subject. And this Japanese American main character has to live with the ghost of his son and sort of learn to come out of his shell and be able to express emotions throughout the series. And so I'm pretty excited about that, because I had worked with a working TV writer with some guidance. And so I think, the script is strong. So I've entered it in a lot of contests, and the deadlines haven't come up as far as response, but I'm hopeful that maybe something will click in one of those avenues and lead to some sort of breaking in. And then other than that, I just wanted to log on and be a part of this. I'm on dog duty, so I may have to log off pretty soon and take care of those responsibilities. But I figured being on for a short time was better than not at all.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's good to see you as always, Stephen.
Good luck with the show.
Good luck.
It sounds really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's just the more dogged one is, the more persistent one is, the more inventive one is, the better. Because in my experience, it's not necessarily the most talented people who succeed; it's the most persistent. And many of you remember Gary Shusett, the wonderful head of Sherwood Oaks Experimental College, and he got astonishing guest speakers. I mean, David can attest to that. And I once asked, and he would get people like Scorsese and William Friedkin, and Rod Serling taught a class for him in writing, and Lucille Ball taught a class for him. I mean, amazing. And I once said that Gary, because he was a very odd character, but very, very charming and engaging, and really a good friend. I said, how do you get these people? And he said, they know that I won't go away until they say yes. So, but he was so charming and so obviously passionate about helping his students. He wasn't like some guy out to help himself, that I think even these huge industry people were disarmed by his authenticity and his kindness, so there's that too. So
I went to a lot of his workshops and found that same experience.
No, I loved Gary, and he and when I was writing the Twilight Zone companion back in my early 20s, Gary had those videotapes and those audio tapes of Serling teaching that 6-week class, and he would bring a 16mm print of a Twilight Zone episode and show it, and then talk about it. And that was incredible, because this was not, he knew this wasn't going to be broadcast, so he's totally candid. And that was really, I was able to quote a lot of that material in the book. And then when I produced the Twilight Zone Blu-rays, we excerpted that stuff on the Blu-rays as well. So anything else you need, Steve?
No, I think that was it.
Okay, cool. Yay. Cheers. So, David, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah, I have a couple little ones here, back to back.
Sure.
One is Morning Light Max says, get a chance at Kmart to buy tops like the original Star Trek had.
Yes.
Like, turns out that's where the crew had got them, and he couldn't afford one of them at the time. He's now disappointed about. And Bruce Moore says, what is the best way to get an autographed copy of your book?
Oh, Jesus, I don't know, David. Maybe we should set something up so that people can order that and we can send it to them. I just want to make sure that I'm not the one licking stamps. Now that stamps are self-adhesive, but yeah, I'm happy to have set up something where people can order any of any of that stuff. So,
How about if they send me an email?
yeah. So yeah, people can send you an email. What's your email address?
DaveFilms, DaveFilms @hotmail.com.
DaveFilms@hotmail.com. Thanks. Great. So, and by the way, hang on one second. I for those who don't know, I'll grab this.
Will we be afraid?
Here we go. Hold on. So, for those who don't know, this is the new book, Greenlighting Yourself, which just came out from my publisher, Silman James, who also publishes the Twilight Zone Companion. And this is a book on how you can have a career in the industry that's completely different from any book you've ever seen on that, because most of the other books, their advice will not work and is total bullshit. And most of those books are written by people who have not succeeded. And this book is based not just on my experiences, but also those of people I know, like J.J. Abrams and Guillermo del Toro, and on and on and on. So, so I think this book will be a great use for anyone who wants to have a career as a writer, director, actor, producer, whatever. And it's on Amazon, Greenlighting Yourself, or David. Contact David, and we'll arrange for you to be able to buy a copy from us, and it'll be signed. So, we do want to make some shirts up where it says Greenlighting Yourself on the front, and then on the back it says Mark Sicri's got your back. So I do want to print those up. Absolutely. So let's see. So Thane, I guess you're next on my screen if you want to dazzle us with your wonderfulness.
Dazzle you with your wonderfulness. Well, I'm disappointed. I thought I was going to be talking to you in London tonight, but I guess I got the message scrambled.
Yeah.
Which is sort of indicative of my life these days.
Yes.
I invited David Bartlett to have brunch with me while I was in Portland, Hillsboro, Oregon the other day, not realizing that he wasn't just down the street, but that he was still in LA. That's what happens. You get over 50 and it's just a lot of So I've been clicking away. Last weekend I was at a conference of solo show aficionados, writers, producers, and directors, and learned a lot and had a good time seeing a lot of my cohorts in person for the first time in a couple of years. And that was a lot of fun. I had an audition this week for a stop motion job, which I don't know. I've never done that before, but I figured they'll tell me what to do. Anyway, Steve, I'm interested in your scripts there, and if you get to shoot them. I have 2 original posters from World War II days right there on my shelf that need a home. And if you can use them as props, if you can use them as part of your collection. I fell madly in love with Sharon Ikuda in the 2nd grade when she joined my 2nd grade class in the Valley after released from the camps. And wherever she is, at any rate, I have these posters that I collected from a warehouse that my former brother-in-law inherited, and he was going to just throw them away. And we said, no, you're not throwing those away. That's part of our history. Denied history in his mind, but at any rate, I've kept them for 50 years, 55 years now. So you're welcome to at least put them in the movie, if not put them in your personal museum.
Cool.
So going on just looking forward to the next audition and the next project. The writer director I know from We Make Movies saw a little video I did a while back that I called my video resume, and fell in love with my ability to create characters, and is writing a script for me and a young woman who have a nice encounter, and we're working on that to get filmed here in the next couple of months. So moving on, moving up, and staying optimistic and writing away as I have time.
Well, great. Yay. 3 cheers. Great. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, David?
Yeah, first of all, Skid Manial says he watched episode 1 of Space Command the other night. Fantastic show. It's very cool.
Thank you.
Good for Skid.
Yeah, well,
Scott Baker has an interesting little number here. He always has interesting little things. Do you have someone who's your official Space Command canon defender, like Star Trek and Star Wars have, to make sure all the facts about characters' history and the love of Space Command mesh? I hope for the purpose of alliteration, it should be canon keeper. I'd be happy to do that on a sliding pay scale, where as Space Command increases in revenue, so too does my pay. I'm amazingly cheap in every sense of the word.
The several things. As was mentioned, the first hour of Space Command is on Mr. Sci-Fi. We are finishing the first 2-hour story. It'll be ready in the next few weeks. People can buy DVDs and Blu-rays and all that stuff. We've got very cool video extras. We're shooting hour 6 now, and that's moving along. And we're going to be shooting all 12 hours of the show by the end of the year. So it's in terms of someone to protect the canon, meaning, you know, all the details of the show, we're not that far along yet where we absolutely need that, because it's sort of in our heads. And the main thing that's interesting about Space Command is how it's evolved as we've been shooting. You know, you know more as you shoot, as you work with your actors. And so there are a number of scripts that I've actually written for Space Command that we won't be shooting in their initial form, because the show has changed. And at some point I may publish some of those drafts if people are curious to read earlier versions, which will be quite different. But for now, my goal is just getting as much shot as we can, plus the pilots for the other 5 series of the Showrunners Network. So there you go. So okay, so now Nadan, you're up next if you'd like to take your turn.
Sure. Thanks, Mark. Thanks everyone for having me. Mark, I mentioned when you were talking about I'm greenlight everything. So, I'm here. I've been working on my books. They're going pretty well. So it's more of like an urban fantasy murder mystery sort of thing. A lot of fun. So I just been trying to navigate this world, as I love the creative side, but it's sort of, how do I get this out there now? So I'm in that process. I guess I did have a question for anyone who's really familiar with equipment and things. We were talking about possibly mine and a few other people's stories, turning them maybe into sort of either maybe a podcast or maybe using YouTube to sort of get that out there. But I don't know much about that world. I think the big thing is, what sort of mics we should be getting and how we should, things we should know for that sort of setup.
Well, David Bartlett's an old sound guy, and so he could advise on that, I'm sure. And I mean, something I say often, and I quote myself in the book, is anything worth doing is worth doing badly. So you just start, and then you make it better as it goes on. And the one thing I do believe is make sure that you don't put more effort into something than the response that you're getting. So in other words, if you do some episodes and it ends up that nobody's paying attention, stop. or learn what you're doing wrong and find how to build an audience, because many people end up spending so much time and effort in the thing that they hope will put them on the map, that they're exhausted and it goes nowhere. So I always look for successful models and study them intimately. And I don't mean like, girls in bathing suits or something. I mean, successful models of what I'm trying to do. And, and that works really well. But the great part is that ever since I was a kid, I've been a huge fan of radio drama and comedy. And that largely died out when TV came up, here in America, but it stayed popular in England. So they've been doing great, particularly radio drama. It's a form I've always loved, and audio podcasts have now brought that back. Drama, particularly in drama, and you can get a very good audience, and you can spend very little on doing it. So just So I mean, David Bartlett, I'm sure, can help you greatly in terms of making sure that you're recording it properly so that it doesn't suck. But then it's just, jump in, see how it works, see what people think. And, it can really lead to some amazing things.
But
So
you said you were writing books and you needed to get that out there as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been writing. I used to do short stories. I've been writing books. I'm working on. It's a novel. It's in part of a series, so
Yes.
it's kind of an. It's not like a limited series. It's kind of like an ongoing series. I like to reuse these characters to tell stories that
Sure.
take place in different places around the world. I was looking about ways to get it out there. I mean, I was kind of going the traditional route, but I guess another idea that I had was maybe they could. They're sort of adventure stories as much as they're horror. I would kind of say the closest thing to them would be something like Stranger Things,
Mhm.
something like that.
Mhm.
And I thought that maybe a podcast, kind of sort of like a way where I was telling the story, would be another good way to sort of maybe build an audience or get more people.
Well,
Yeah.
was there all
Yeah.
conferences, honey?
Well, yeah. I mean, you and I talked about this at the convention a bit, which is, one has to recognize that often people get very comfortable in the creative aspect of it, but not in the business aspect of it. And they're both vital if you want to make a living at it. And it's really important to pay attention to both. Brandon Sanderson just did a crowdfunding campaign where he raised $41 million for 4 novels that he wrote during that he claims he wrote during the pandemic. And, so there's a lot of money to be had. The easiest way to sell a science fiction or fantasy novel is to go to the World Science Fiction Convention, to go to the World Fantasy Convention. The editors are there, the agents are there, the major writers are there. You can meet them. They're very friendly, and that's the way to do it. Self-publishing can be a viable route, but you have to be. It depends on what kind of person you are. If you're super good at banging the drum, like I'm pretty good in the spotlight, and Mr. Sci-Fi works extremely well as a fundraising tool and a publicity tool and a whole bunch of things tool. And but Elaine doesn't like to be in the spotlight, and so our personalities are very different. So I gravitate toward the things that I can do that work. And but there's also the Clarion Writers Workshop, which is the leading science fiction writing workshop in the country. That's what got my career going when I was 19. I sold my first short story via that. I would highly recommend it. Those are some of the things. Doing a podcast is not a bad idea. I know people have gotten book deals out of that, and also, people have sold TV shows out of that, and it's not very expensive to do. So, yeah. I mean, I think doing a podcast and going to these conventions would be an extremely good idea for you. And yeah. Yeah, anything else?
You said the World Science Fiction.
There's 2 basically, here's the thing about science fiction conventions for those who've never been to them. They First of all, part of the question is, do you have a comfort level around people with no social skills? Because that's gonna be what you're gonna be encountering. But, there's 2 different kinds of science fiction conventions. There are media-oriented ones, like Comic-Con, okay, that draw, like, 100,000 people and are crazy, just overwhelming. Then there are writer-oriented ones, novelist-oriented ones. They're far smaller. They might be 6,000 attendees. They might be 3,000 attendees. The 2 big ones are the World Science Fiction Convention, which is held in the summer in different cities. Each year it's a different city, and the World Fantasy Convention. Now, don't be confused by the names, because both of them have writers and editors and agents who specify in science fiction, horror, fantasy. Okay, so but the major people doing those things successfully go to those conventions. That's how they network. That's how they in person, and it's just they're great. They're great. You can hang out with people. They're very approachable. Comic-Con is for different purposes, mainly to, traumatize yourself. But, I mean, my joke about Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, is that it's a cross between Woodstock and Auschwitz. But, so but the New York Comic-Con draws actually more people, and I like it better. People are much more polite in New York than in San Diego. So, I mean, another joke I have about the San Diego Comic-Con is that their motto is "Welcome to Comic-Con, now go fuck yourself." So they're not, the people putting on that convention are not friendly to the people attending the convention, let us say. But yeah, but World Science Fiction Convention's in the summer around August, and World Fantasy Convention is in October. And yeah, that's the way you get a career. Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, I was definitely looking at going into conventions. I'd never been to one, so I was trying to figure out what that world is like.
One thing I would say is, if you want to be treated seriously as a writer, don't go in costume, okay? Because if you're dressed up like Green Lantern, that's not going to help you. But that's just me. But also really make a note of who's attending. See, I love things that have name tags, because you can see who people are. And but I mean, for instance, if you wanted to meet George R.R. Martin, he's there at Worldcon and very approachable. If you want to meet, I mean, Brandon Sanderson's gone to those things. Last time I saw Brandon was at Worldcon. So they give out the Hugos, which is the top award in science fiction. Yeah, I can't recommend it too highly. It's wonderful. Yeah. Cool. Yay. 3 cheers. Welcome. Yay. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, David?
Indeed. Bruce Moore says, Mark, can you please update us on your new Twilight Zone series idea and Twilight Zone commentaries coming soon?
Yes. The Showrunners Network is a slate of 6 series that I'm creating with the creators of The Expanse and the creators of Farscape and the creators of Defiance and on and on. And one of the things I want to do, because I'm the world's expert on the Twilight Zone, is there's a new Rod Serling series that I'm proposing called Rod Serling's After Twilight, that would be made up of scripts that Rod wrote that were never made, such as a number of Night Gallery scripts, and also scripts he wrote in the era of live TV that haven't been seen in over 60 years. And he would narrate it, because Rod dictated everything he wrote and into a recorder. And they thought that all of those recordings were lost, and they just recently found 1,000 hours of them. So Rod will narrate the show. So I'm in conversation with Rod's daughters, who I know very well, and also with Rod's agent, who I also know very well. And so, hopefully we'll be able to shoot the pilot this year and rock and roll. It would also consist of scripts by other writers who are really in that Rod Serling groove. When they brought Twilight Zone back in the 80s, I wrote a script for that show that the censors pulled. Now it would be very, very, very non-threatening, non-controversial, but that's a script we'll be shooting as well. And so that's what that is. And in terms of doing the remaining 100 Twilight Zone commentaries, because I did 52 on the Twilight Zone Blu-ray, which I produced, I'm not going to do them soon. We tried to launch a Kickstarter campaign. I really didn't have anyone to run it. The time involved in doing all of that stuff is really not worth it at this stage. I've locked down the financing for this year for our studio, and I'd rather just devote myself to making new stuff. And at some point, I'll do those 100 commentaries, because I have it all in my head. I know, I mean, there's tons of stuff to talk about, but that won't be, anytime really soon. So let's see. So who else do we have? Rosemary, I'm seeing you on the screen. If you want to take your turn.
Sorry, it took me a second to unmute.
It's good.
Sure, yeah. I don't need any help with anything per se, but
cool.
I could update a little bit on what I've been doing. I think we met last time when I was in LA right before COVID, which is a long time ago.
Yes.
So I've been working on a mental health game. I've actually finished that now. I'm taking this year off completely just to write.
Good.
Started that pretty much a day after my birthday, which I always call my New Year, which is my birthday's on the 31st of January. So my New Year starts on like the Chinese, it starts differently. Starts on the 1st of February.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a year to write. I've done 2 rewrites. I've finished a TV show pilot and documentation for it, which has, knock on wood, gone out to 2 producers who've actually both requested the script.
Cool.
And to a literary manager who also mentioned he was going to send it to a few people, which is good. And then I finished a drama, which I have some financing for. So now I'm putting together the sales packaging for that to see who I can send that to. And next one I'm starting on this weekend is a romantic comedy, which is also a rewrite. It's all stuff I wrote while I was doing the game.
Good.
Meaning I got 2 first drafts, and the first drafts were, they were okay, but nothing spectacular. So hopefully in these rewrites, that's what I've been able to do. And on the side, I'm writing a book for somebody, ghostwriting it, which should be finished in the next month or so. And there we already have a publisher. So
great.
Things are starting to look up.
Good. That's good. Well, yeah. So it sounds like you're on the right track. Any questions? Anything you need?
Well, the one thing I guess that would be interesting is that's what I was asking about the conferences. Specifically, the producer mentioned, okay, it's very tough at the moment to get a showrunner who's not booked out.
Yes.
And so that's one thing where they said, okay, that's what we need to be looking for next, is to attach that to the TV show.
Yes.
And so therefore, when you said, that showrunners show up to these conferences, that's why I was asking.
Yes.
These conferences for. Do you have any other tips how to get to them?
It's very tricky, and in a way, I you probably should read Greenlighting yourself, the new book, because I strongly believe in creating the work and creating the content and getting it out to your audience and building an audience, because a showrunner, if you're not already established, it's very difficult to attach showrunners. The way I do it, the way I'm doing it now, is I go to events and I meet people, and it's years before I might partner with a showrunner. I know, but I collect them, and I know a ton of them. And so when I call Rockneil Bannon, he's created 4 hit shows. He's currently executive producer on Evil, which is another hit show. And, we're friends. And so I say, hey, you want to do this? And he goes, yeah, sure. Yes. But I also design it. So I'm doing the heavy lifting. They have to see what's advantageous to them. It's not about you. It's about them. And if you're not established, it's harder for them to justify to themselves, let alone their team. But that said, going to events, meeting people, it's like it's like anything in life. You do your groundwork first. You do your, you don't. It's like if you met someone that you didn't know and said, "Hey, I need you to co-sign a car loan for me," they'd say no, because they don't know you. On the other hand, if you'd given their brother a kidney or something, then they might be more inclined to do that. So it's so it's just make a list of people whose work you love, whose work you admire. The way I ultimately first started pitching to Star Trek The Next Generation was Star Trek The Next Generation, the first season, it was really off, it was shitty, and the stories didn't work, and there were a lot of reasons for that. But finally, they did one episode called The Big Nowhere, and it was the first episode that actually worked. So I wrote the writer a letter, Tracy Torme, and I told him I thought it was really good. And he called me, and he said, "Thanks a lot. I got a lot of response to this, but your letter was really the most articulate and the most, and I really liked it." And he said, "By the way, I recognize your name, but I can't quite place it. How would I know of you?" And I said, "Well, I wrote the Twilight Zone Companion." And so as a result of that, Tracy brought me in, and, therein hangs a tale. But, but that was for me reaching out to someone without a request. I didn't say in that letter, "Let me come in and pitch to your show." But I really try to meet the people who are doing the work I love. And that's worked very, very well in my career. So I would urge all of you to do that if you can. I mean, now that the pandemic is winding down a little bit, they're starting to do things in person, and that's invaluable, really invaluable. So anything else for now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, that's it.
Okay.
Let me just chime in. Don't showrunners generally have their own projects there?
Yes. Yes.
Pitch. How do they?
Yeah, they
how
do.
do you?
Mhm.
You know, how do you get them to come up on board your project?
I'll tell you the answer. Because I actually had a friend who he was doing one season. He was doing 6 pilots, of which he was writing 2. And I said, "Why are you doing 6? Why are you affiliating with these other people?" And he said, "Because it increases my odds." He said, the most pilots I can write during pilot season is 2. But if I attach myself to these other projects, that gives me 6 chances to get a series on the air rather than 2. So that was how he was seeing it. So he was actually someone that you could attach to. But that's where you want to do your research, because if it's a showrunner who only does his own material, he's not going to want to affiliate with you. On the other hand, if he's someone like that guy, he might. So again, it's very important to kind of, look at ways to make your chances better, and that's how it goes. That's how it works. But now the way most people are getting series sold is they create um, IP, intellectual property, in a different medium. It might be comic books, it might be books, it might be a podcast, it might be a web series. There's all sorts of ways to do it, graphic novel, but that really helps put you on the map, particularly if it succeeds in that medium. So that's what I would say. Anything else, Rosemary?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, yay. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah, I have 2 little fun things.
Great.
One's a trivia test, not a test, but it's a question. I know
Sure.
Ross Buton says, "OMG, who made your tunic? I want one."
I found it on eBay, oddly enough, and it's really nice. And I don't know if they're still selling them. If you type in, Star Trek, the Cage tunic, and then hit shopping, you'll see what you get. But this one's really nice. It's shiny, and I like it a lot. And so we'll see what happens. But thank you.
And then there's a trivia question.
Sure.
In Haxt says there was an offshoot Star Trek that visited Andromeda, I think. Then
Yes.
they invaded this galaxy, which I can remember the name.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. It wasn't an offshoot series. The only offshoot pilot the original Star Trek did was the one with Robert Lansing, which was set on Earth, modern day Earth, but it didn't go to series. Roddenberry tried for a long time with a number of pilots to get to sell shows after Star Trek. He did Spectre, Earth 2, a number of them, and they didn't go to series. Now you can find them on YouTube and so forth. But it took him over 10 years to get Star Trek going again after it was canceled, and that was with the Star Trek the Motion Picture. Star Trek went off the air in 1969, and the Star Trek the Motion Picture came out in 1979, and then we were off and running. So okay, let's see.
Mark, also one more thing in the chat. I've posted a bunch of answers to the sound, microphone, and recorder questions.
Great.
Oh, great.
Terrific. Thank you. Good.
As just a note, this equipment that's out there has gone down in price considerably.
I see. Well, that's good.
It's much more, especially the recorders. You can get an 8-channel recorder for $800.
Wow, that's great.
You get a 6-channel recorder for $350. I mean,
Yes.
It's astonishing the prices that
Yes.
things are being sold for.
And what I would say to anyone who's going to do an audio podcast is do not spend a ton of money. If you do it for as little as you possibly can, because if you're spending like 10 grand per episode or something, you are out of your mind. And just make friends who have skills, and make sure there's something in it for them. People will work for free if they see a benefit to themselves. If, for instance, if an actor's looking for a reel, or if someone wants to get into voiceovers, or you just find the win-win, and that can lower costs significantly. Oddly enough, a doctor who put in $10,000 for a role in Space Command in our first campaign, he waited a decade to play a doctor in Space Command. He's now teamed up with a VFX friend of his to do VFX shots for Space Command. And it's like, Jesus, okay, and they're free. And not all of our VFX are free, God knows. But if he's doing shots that work and we can utilize them, great, 100%. So, okay, so Bonnie, I see you on my screen. Do you want to take your turn?
Okay.
Great.
Doing this workshop again. That goes till 6:30.
Uh-huh.
But welcome back, Mark and Elaine.
Thank you.
And yeah, just working on a lot of different things. Now I'm working on, I mentioned I was working on 3 musicals, a couple of possible films. But now I'm doing also some songs with some different people. I'm doing this thing, which is kind of fun, called Songdemic, and it's part of Society of Composers and Lyricists. So we're all from all around the world collaborating with people. So working on that. Probably other things. Yeah, just doing a lot of committees for the union and all, and yeah, I don't know, a lot of stuff. It's not too anyway, just a lot of different things. So if anyone needs music, just give me a shout.
Yeah, and you do, and if you need support for music, you do a wide range of different kinds of music.
Film, musical theater, jazz, big band jazz, all kinds of things, and specialize in live scores, so rather than synthesized. So
hello, puppy.
Yeah, I'll put my info in the chat.
Great, terrific, yay!
Greenlighting yourself. Thank you, Mark.
You're very welcome. And
it's
the best book I've written recently, and it's I wrote it in a very different way from all of the other books I've written, where I was just working, for like an hour or so per day on it over a period of like about 3 months. And I wasn't certain it would work, and it did. I'm very pleased with the book, and I'll probably be recording the audiobook of it soon, because that would be a lot of fun. So, okay, great. So next, so is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, David?
Sure. Scott Baker says, I'm hoping we encounter Gary 7, not the Romulan colleague,
right?
The real deal.
Yeah.
And a visit with a young couple before we found a way to Eden. Yeah, brother.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
We're deep cuts on Star Trek.
Yes.
Tonight, aren't we?
Yeah. Deep references. Yeah, absolutely. So, so is there a question somewhere?
What do you think about Gary 7?
I was glad that didn't go to series, the Robert Lansing thing with Terry Garr. I just don't think it would have sustained. I love Robert Lansing. I interviewed him when I did the Twilight Zone book. He was always wonderful, very solid actor, but that wasn't the show I was wanting to see. The original Star Trek was great because it absolutely gave you the universe. It gave you this amazing ship, this amazing crew. You wanted to be part of that crew. You wanted to be on the Enterprise. And the times I have been on the Enterprise, like when I was a kid, when I went on set for the show to watch the show being filmed, and when I was on the Enterprise sets, well, I mean, every time I've been on the Enterprise sets, it's great. I love it. I guess I've been on the DS9 sets, the Voyager sets, the JJ Star Trek sets, the recreated original sets that I shot World Enough and Time on with George Takei, and then now the Space Command sets are great fun. So yeah, it's neat. But okay, so let's see, Mark Gushwitz. Oh wait, who have I missed? Oh, Akira. Yeah, you went when you came back. Yeah, go for it, Akira. Go for it.
Okay, so nice meeting you. This is Akira. I'm originally from Tokyo, Japan. I'm living in LA from 2017, doing film composing and working as a guitarist, and also doing some language business, English and Japanese, or back and forth, like teaching Japanese and translating and interpreting. And recently, some students, I have a couple of students from the industry, like professional musicians or some actors who Asian actors, but non-Japanese, but she wants to take some role or audition, and so who wants to learn some native intonation of Japanese, like that. I have a couple of some students like that too, and also teaching absolutely normal student, any kind of student I'm accepting anyway. And what I'm doing is writing a couple of pop songs with the singer-songwriters, and also I'm working on a documentary film, feature film, and some of my library music. I have more than 100 library music online, and some of music are licensed in a TV show, and for example, like Historic Channel, and like that. one by it's not a big thing, each one is but just one by one. And now I bought this book, it's really thick one for start with encyclopedia.
Yes.
And, it will take 5 years to read, Anyway.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so that is all about me. So thank you very much.
Okay, cool. Yay. 3 Cheers, Akira. And by the way, we always encourage table members to work together and to check out each other's work, because there's a lot of talent amongst the table members, and the more we work together, the stronger we are. So, I guess so. Mark Agushwich. Oh, was there a Mr. Sci-Fi question before we move on?
Yes, Mark Lungo says,
Hi, Mark.
Welcome back, Mark and Elaine.
Thanks.
And what do you think of James Hong getting a Hollywood star?
I think they should have waited 10 years. No, I'm joking. He's 90. He's 93. I think it's terrific. I think it's terrific. He's in Space Command, which was a thrill of a lifetime to have him in the show. And I don't know who James Hong is. He plays in Big Trouble in Little China. He's in the movie Chinatown and 5 other things. And he's just, and he's also in Everything Everywhere at Once, which is a new movie that he's very, very, very good in. He plays the grandfather. And yeah, I mean, it's high time. I mean, thank God. There's only 20 Asians who have stars on the Walk of Fame. The Walk of Fame is a weird thing because it's sort of a publicity stunt, but it's come to really be one of the major accomplishments that people in film and TV want to have. I mean, Rod Serling has a star on the Walk of Fame. Many people do. And it's really an honor to have that. So I'm really glad they gave it to him in high time. They could have given it to him, 50 years ago, and it would have been equally valid. So, so there you go.
It's
Yeah.
It's really weird because you have to be invited because of your body of work, and then you have to pay for it.
Yeah, it costs $50,000, and
Well,
so
the ones by the Chinese theater do.
well, that's what they said on the radio. That was 50 grand. But
his is by the Wax Museum, so it's probably prime real estate down there.
I don't know, God knows. But the point is that a number of actors raised the money for it. Kim J, whatever his name is, the one who was on Lost. He was one of the people lobbying for that. But I think it's great. I think it's great, and I think the more people of diversity who are recognized with things like that, the better. I have no problem with it at all. I think he's an incredible actor, and I mean, the fact that he can take one scene in Blade Runner and be unforgettable speaks to his talent. There's so many actors who feel, well, it's a small role. What can I do with it? Well, watch James Hong in Blade Runner, and you'll know what the possibilities are, because I cast him in Space Command because of that role, not Big Trouble in Little China, which he's great in as well. But so yeah, but he's phenomenal, amazing. So let's see. So Mark Agushwich, you're up now.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Finally.
Go for it. Go for it. Quick.
Let's do a add-on to that Space Command question, or Mr. Sci-Fi question.
Sure.
And ask, what do you think of the fact that it took him so long to get it when he deserved it so long ago? Because he didn't just seal the scene; he seals a lot of scenes and a lot of stuff he did, including Seinfeld. His
Really?
episode of Seinfeld.
Huh. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, better late than never. It's good that they finally got around to it when he's still with us, and still has all his marbles. It's I mean, there's so many people who didn't get their just due while they were alive. I mean, Elaine and I went to the incredible Van Gogh self-portrait show in London. Half of the self-paintings self-portraits he painted, 19 of them were there. And that's a guy who, never knew that he was going to get the kind of the appreciation he ultimately did, which is such a tragedy. But yeah, so I'm better late than never. Better late than never. So yeah, so go ahead, please. It's your turn.
All right. So first, since we're on the subject of Hollywood Walk of Fame, on my birthday, Kermit the Frog got his star on the Hollywood.
Wow.
That's so cool, because anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge Jim Henson guy. I mean,
yes,
he's one of my favorite people in that line. Because I don't know if he's a filmmaker, a television guy, or just a puppeteer, but he's literally somebody I've learned so much from. And so me and a friend of mine went to see Kermit the Frog get his star on my birthday. It was so cool.
Wow, that's great.
Anyway, okay, so I'm not going to talk very much because I'm half out of it, but Saturday, I'm finally going to have a day off, my first day off in months.
Yay.
Before David and Mark ask, what do you mean you have a day off? We haven't seen Comic-Con yet. I've uploaded the latest version of Comic-Con.
Great.
I did it yesterday. I haven't sent a link because I am writing, I'm sending an email, and there's going to be a couple of notes and a couple of things that I want you guys to look at before it's approved as final.
Okay.
You guys will probably be fine with it.
Sure.
But because I'm the only eyes on something, I'm not Mr. Perfect.
Yes.
So there's some specific stuff that I want.
Sure, you bet.
And then you'll get the link. So you'll either get the link tonight or tomorrow first thing. So just keep an eye on your email.
Great. Will do.
So that's good. And I know David's happy about that. So what else is going on? Oh, so yeah, between today and tomorrow, I'm finished. I just handed in now 3 deadlines on stuff. I was so packed with stuff.
Mark,
yes.
Before you go on, let me make one comment, okay? Here's why he said that. We have been developing DVD extras for a 2-hour disc of DVD extras for a long time now because they're very time consuming, and we have put together about 15 DVD extras. Mark Goshevitz did most of the editorial on some of them, and he's in this one. This is the last DVD extra.
Yay.
That's why we're happy about that too. So we now have the last visual effect, the last perk, and the last DVD extra, all coming in the same week.
Cool.
So we're really jazzed about all that.
Great.
Yeah,
Great.
There's just 2 spots that I have a question on, but I think we could even lock sound if you guys are like, can you fix this? Because it's a visual element. So, so I'm excited too. It was really difficult. It was really time consuming, and also, working around other stuff. I've had no sleep. So Saturday, don't call me, don't text me. I am not answering the phone. I'm not doing anything work related. And I may even go to a movie.
Lovely.
The Show movie you keep talking about.
Yeah, sounds great. Terrific. So,
but I had literally 3 deadlines, 2 which were due last week, and I'm working on finishing up the other ones that I'll have done for tomorrow. Starting on Monday, I start on something else, which is now going to start to take up a lot of my time. But I have the weekend. I have set Sunday aside for a little bit of work, so just in case. So yeah, I'm going to sleep late on Saturday.
Great.
And yay. And I'm also with a little bit of time slowing down, hopefully a little bit. I got to get back on my website. It's called Underexposed Cinematic Treasures. I have a couple of podcasts interested in having me on because they've liked what I've done so far. Unfortunately, it's a little too slow going for my part, so I got to really kick that into gear. You said something earlier today when we were talking about Comic-Con. I think you were talking, if I get this wrong, please forgive me, Nadan? And you said when you go to Comic-Con, you didn't suggest people dress up.
Yes, correct.
And I just wanted to say something. I have a friend who's self-publishing a book. It's called Today in Star Wars History. And he's already, and in 2 weeks, he's doing a big launch and everything, but he's already got a ton of pre-orders.
Great.
And one of the reasons is because when him and his wife go to, now they have a podcast called Skywalker Neverland, really good if you want to check it out. And when they go to Comic-Con, they're always dressed up.
Yes.
And so people are always approaching them and talking to them.
Yes.
And then that allows them the opportunity to get excited about their stuff.
Yes.
And they've gotten a lot of pre-sales on their book.
Yes.
And
I
think that part of it is because of the fact that he dresses up, he makes himself available to everybody.
Well, Mark,
and the conversation starts.
Here's the thing. Look,
I'm not doubting you. I'm just kind of.
No, you are. You're doubting me, and I must expel you from the community of like-minded individuals. No, I mean, I think it's extremely amusing that you're telling me this while I'm wearing a Star Trek uniform. Okay, I'm just put it in context, but I can speak to that because it's the question always is, who is your audience? Who are you trying to impress? What is your call to action? If I like, for instance, the reason I'm dressed in this costume is, other than it's fun, is that I was doing my Mr. Sci-Fi on Strange New Worlds, and it was a fun idea. It's eye-catching, you know. But were I going to meet a publisher that I'd never met before and trying to pitch them a series of, you know, epic science fiction novels or something, I wouldn't show up in a Star Trek uniform, because that's not going to increase my credibility. So I'm always thinking about what is the message that I'm presenting, and who am I presenting it to, and what do I want to get out of it? And I mean, fortunately, I can be a very I'm Mr. Sci-Fi, so I could be dressed as a stormtrooper right now. I mean, I can do any of that stuff. I bought shoes in London that light up and say watch Mr. Sci-Fi on YouTube. You know, watch Space Command on Mr. Sci-Fi. Now, most people wouldn't be able to wear those shoes, but I will wear them proudly. So it isn't that. I mean, if you're doing a Star Wars book and you dress in Star Wars costume, that's 100% fine, because you're trying to send the message to the fans that you really are a dyed-in-the-wool Star Wars fan. That's the message you're sending, and that's the right message to send. But if you were meeting with the editors, once they know you, you can dress up. You could be wearing a G-string, for God's sake. But, you know, the thing is, when you're making the first impression, you want them to know that you're not a loose cannon. Because if they're going to buy a book from you, if they're going to trust you to deliver on a deadline, they have to know that you're not out of your mind. And many people are, you know. So just like, for instance, yeah.
Is it a requirement to be out of your mind if you're going to be in this
No,
business, though?
they know, because just you know, people in the industry want people to deliver. If you're paying someone thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, you want to make sure that you don't get fucked over, because if you get fucked over, you'll probably lose your job, you know, because the company gets fucked over. And so that's why it's so hard for newbies to break in, because they're an unproven quantity, an unproven commodity, you know. Whereas if you have a track record, then they can call the people you work with and say, is that guy an asshole? You know, does he deliver? You know, I have friends, many friends in the industry, who've said, I don't want genius. I want someone to deliver on time, you know, because if you're waiting and waiting and waiting for that brilliant script and not getting it when you need it, then you're screwed. Whereas if you have something you can shoot that arrives before you need it, then you're okay. So, you know, so these are all considerations, you know. So yeah, so what else?
It's all interesting.
Yeah.
What you're saying, I find very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, in my mind, at least in my mind, in my experience, it seems like if you're going to go to Comic-Con, though, you're probably not meeting the editors and stuff. You're meeting the people who are having fun.
It depends.
And
it depends. I don't
know. In my experience, it's just, yeah, I mean, I never dress up. They look like I'm crazy because they've got the costume, so they will give you the costume to dress up.
It depends.
But they can also talk a good game when they meet people, because he's so passionate about Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, but I'd have no problem with him dressing in Star Wars costume. And again, many people go to conventions to have fun, and that's fine. That is not why I go. I go for business reasons, totally. If I could never go to another convention again for the rest of my life, I probably would agree to that. But that's not, you know, but that's as maybe. But putting up a booth and talking to people and all this stuff, is it fun for me? No, it's not. And you know, but that's okay. That's part of the job. And but I also learn a lot when I'm there, when I listen to other people, what they're doing. And you know, but I don't hang out with a whole bunch of people dressed as Wookiees, you know. That's not my my dream of heaven. So just saying.
And I guess what you're saying is it depends on your agenda, and so I'm glad I asked the question so you can clarify that.
Yes, yes, and yet I know many people, many of my friends, who used to be able to walk around on the dealer's room floor or whatever at Comic-Con, and now they can't, like Guillermo. The first time, 2 times I ran into Guillermo at Comic-Con, he wasn't well known, and he was able to walk around and just look at stuff. He can't do that now. And when I mentioned George R.R. Martin earlier, he can't do that at Comic-Con. He can do it at Worldcon because that's his people. That's the writers and editors and so forth. So he in fact, he puts on a party at Worldcon. He could never do that at Comic-Con. So you know, but that's it.
It's the one part of the business that I would figure they must hate, because when I worked at a movie theater, celebrities would come in and they'd ask if they could be seated first, because if they weren't seated first, then the mob would just come.
Yes.
And they couldn't enjoy themselves.
No.
Or they'd come in after the movie started so that they could. And I understand that. And I
Yes.
used to talk to people and say, it's not fair for these people. Well, it's part of the industry is what they would say to me. I said, no, these people should be able to have lives too.
Yes.
Which is why, with the exception of Mel Brooks, which he seemed to really love, whenever I was at work, I never approached anybody.
No.
Kind of celebrity.
No.
So,
Yeah.
Some of them approached me. I used to be friends with Williams, or I thought it was like a friendship thing. Whenever he came in, we spark up these conversations, but it's because he would walk up to me waiting for his movie to start talking to me.
Yeah.
Great guy too. Okay, so that's what I was. That's why I was asking, because you clarified that in a really, really good way.
Yes.
Understandable way.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's going on with me outside of getting the Comic-Con and being able to have Saturday off? Monday I start working on another project, editing for a regular client.
Yes.
And I'm going to start getting busy again, which is good, because whenever a project ends, you worry about how much time you're going to have between stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not going to have a lot of time, so I'm excited about that. My feature film script got put on hold for a little bit because my writer had to get a job because he was running out of money. But I found another writer who is somebody that I've worked for pretty regularly. I won awards editing her stuff. And she's a really good writer, and we talked, and so it looks like she's going to come on board to write the script based on my idea that we're going to shoot in Arizona and finally get made. So I'm excited about that. And then, over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to start really pressing my website and my podcast, which is, I've had 3 episodes recorded, but I haven't been able to touch. So keep your fingers crossed. I'm getting sleep again, but I am going to try and see a couple of movies, because I've seen 4 movies this year. And I generally see 150 movies a year, so it's just been busy. But busy's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay.
So that's it for me.
Great.
I might give you a call tomorrow, Mark, though,
Sure.
regarding this Comic-Con thing.
Sure.
Because I want before you watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just keep an eye on you and David.
Okay.
The 2 Davids. So keep an eye on your email. If you
Cool.
don't get the link tonight, you'll get it first thing in the morning.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Mark. Yay. So, David, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Anyway, this spins to Elaine.
Oh my God.
And the question is from Bruce Moore. Can you tell us what your project, The Voiceless Roar, is about?
The Voiceless Roar is about the dying of the American dream by the shifting of society into Wall Street. Super powerful people, not just the U.S., but where average Joes are being made less and less relevant, and it becomes harder and harder to survive. So it's set in a small town, but it's not in small town America to represent average Joes, although it's a little bit, one step removed, a little bit mythical, and it's about how a group of people end up taking back the dream from a society that's slipping more and more toward corporate and more toward profiteering. And it's people refinding faith in a melting pot, refinding faith in each other, and just in fellow average Joes. So I find the average person is interesting and kind and generous and has a lot to offer, but they're kind of being pushed off the face of the earth by a few incredibly rich and powerful people who have no limits set on them. And so it's a protest to that and a re-honoring of average Joes. So that's what Voiceless Roar is about. It's an ensemble piece.
Cool.
And it's about the strength of the individual.
Great. Lovely. So Don Balderramos, you're the last person on my screen.
It's me.
Yeah, go for it.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
And I started my year. Well, I did a live performance this last weekend.
Wow.
Wow.
It was really fun. I just had to do it. It's a monologue slam. And it just came. I just kind of did it by a whim. I saw it online on one of the casting networks, and thought I would do it because it was a monologue I wanted to. And they only give you a minute. So I did what I've never seen anyone do before, I've never seen it. Doesn't mean it hasn't been done before. Which is, I did Shakespeare's from As You Like It monologue, The 7 Ages of Man, going through every age and every character, voices and all in 1 minute.
Wow, cool.
Got it in 1 minute. Yeah. So that was cool.
Great.
And I'm also here to declare tomorrow night table date night. Now, what that means is if you have a date, come to see my movie at the North Hollywood Lemley movie I'm in. Lemley NoHo 7. Monstrous, called Monstrous.
Cool.
And star is Christina Ricci, and
yes,
I have a couple nice scenes with her.
Well, the neat thing, Don, is that you're the opening shot in the trailer. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. That's cool too.
Yeah.
And for those that don't have a date, I do have a bag of prunes, so it is a win-win. I'll be bringing that. So Mark, both Marks actually, if you guys can make it, that'd be incredible. And Mark, you've only had 4 movies this year or whatever. There's a 5th one coming out to Table Date Night.
Great.
Are you going to be there?
Oh yeah, I'm going to be there.
Great.
I don't know what my night's going to be like, but it's walking distance from where I live, so I might. If I come, I'll look for you.
Yeah, okay, do. Yeah, and that'd be cool. On asking a question in terms of sci-fi, I think I know how I could do it, but you could let me know, Mark.
Sure.
Mr. Zigri. One of the best monologues, I mean, it's still in my head. One of the best monologues I've ever seen, and somehow you're not on. Talk, Mark, so I can get you back on my screen.
Yeah, okay, hi. Hello. Hello, Don.
Yeah, thank you. One of the best monologues I've ever seen was by a young Tony Randall in an episode of Twilight Zone.
Wow. Huh.
And I guess I've always wanted, I mean, it's just kind of when you were talking and things, I guess I could just Google Tony Randall monologue Twilight Zone.
Sure.
See what happens.
Yeah.
What comes up.
You bet.
But it really was one of the best I've ever seen.
Well,
so I'd like to see that again.
One of my favorite monologues that Tony Randall ever did. There's a great George Powell movie called The 7 Faces of Dr. Lao, based on a National Book Award-winning novel by Charles G. Finney and scripted by Charles Beaumont, the great Twilight Zone writer. And he, at the end of it, and it was the first movie to win an Oscar for makeup. With the great William Tuttle, did 7 different makeups on Tony Randall, and at the end, Tony Randall has a wonderful monologue about how miraculous life is. And I love this speech, and it's actually on my wall I have it framed on my wall here at home, and it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. It's one of
now he played Dr.
Lau. He played Dr. Lau. He played
because I totally remember the movie.
Yeah.
I just didn't see it. I was pretty young at the
time. He's unrecognizable. He's unrecognizable. Interestingly,
I didn't realize he was in it.
Well, interestingly enough, William Tuttle told me, I interviewed him when I did the Twilight Zone Companion, and he told me that it was the only movie he knew of ever where the makeup man had veto over the lead role, over casting the lead role. And George Powell was originally going to cast Peter Ustinov in that role, and William Tuttle said, he can't do it. He's got a fat face. I can't do anything with it. I can't make him look like all these different. Yeah. And so then they cast Tony Randall, and of course he's terrific in the film.
Oh, yes. Well, and that's it. And so thank you very much.
Great.
Hope to see everybody at date night tomorrow night. I hope you guys can make it.
Yay! 3 cheers. Congratulations, Don. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, David?
Indeed. We have now see, Bob Rich has a question.
Hello, Bob.
Bob Rich is a lovely writer and aspiring critiquer of plays. That's not even the right grammar. So his is a little long-winded, but worthwhile.
Okay.
He says, who are some writers from literature, TV, movies, and film that made good scripts or stories early in their careers, but then later found their stride and made projects that were truly extraordinary?
Woof. That's a hard one. One of the most interesting writing careers of anyone I know of is Paddy Chayefsky, because Paddy Chayefsky was a writer in the great live era of television in the 50s, writing extremely character-driven and small pieces like Marty and The Bachelor Party and things like that. and then he became very disillusioned with television in the 60s, and and into the 70s, he started writing movies, and they were satires. And the most famous one of these would be Network, which is one of the most brilliant things ever written about television, but totally different from what Paddy Chayefsky was writing in the 50s. And now if you watch Network, it seems like it's like a documentary. But when it was written, it was taking things to their extreme of what he thought television would become, and it's exactly what television did become. And so he was an amazing writer. Do you know of anyone who started? Mark Twain. You could say Mark Twain hit his stride with Huckleberry Finn and wasn't as good starting out. Um, it depends. Some writers are really hot out of the gate, and then they fade quickly, and others have highs and lows. I mean, Steinbeck, was pretty good in the early part of his career with Of Mice and Men and Grapes of Wrath, and he kind of was running out of steam, and then he hit the road with Travels with Charlie when he was an older guy and got his mojo back. And then of course Tennessee Williams was very, very hot, very wonderful writer for over 10 years with Glass Menagerie and Streetcar Named Desire and on, all the way through Night of the Iguana. And then into the 70s, he started kind of lose his way. And he still had ability, great ability, but not the same amazing uniformity and creativity he showed in the earlier decades. Anything you want?
Someone is suggesting Vladimir Nabokov.
Sure. Yeah. And but yeah, so that's some of it. So now it's Elaine's turn. Wonderful, Elaine. Go for it, Elaine.
Well, we had an enviable trip away to London and then to Wales. Hay on Wye, which is a book town. That's Hay on the River Wye. So it was like wonderful to go. We were juggling many projects, and right now it was nice for Voiceless Roar to be brought up. We're trying to get the money to put it together and have it shot. Many table actors are going to be leading in this particular piece, and again, it's an ensemble piece with a lot of character things. And so I'm just doing a final pass on. I update that thing, every time possible money is there to keep it really current as to what's going on in the social situation. So there was that, and but you always get perspective when you're traveling. And in terms of the rewrite, it was coming to me as we were moving through London, and we had a very good time, partially because we agreed that every day we do something with a different feel to it.
Yes.
And the final day we were off. We had a little plan as to what we were going to do, but there was a bus on our street saying, "Come to the art fair." And
the affordable art fair.
The affordable art fair.
Yes.
And we thought, oh, okay, we'll go to the affordable art fair, and it's probably going to be kind of funky, but let's hop this bus. And it wasn't funky, as it turned out. It was wonderful. It was wonderful art from galleries all over the place, top flight galleries. And so depends on your vision of affordable, but we fell in love with a lot of pieces. And so it was a lot of fun because we followed our instincts. We had tremendous good luck. And now we're back again juggling many things.
Yes.
In addition to Voiceless Roar, we're really working to finish off on Space Command.
Yep.
And several other projects. So busy as can be. And
cool.
Yeah.
Yay, Elaine. 3 cheers, Elaine. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, David?
Yes, there is. Let's see here. Can we end on? Okay, so I can't tell who that is. JLS. Is there a written list of Mark's sci-fi recommendations somewhere, like a Goodreads list, etc.? That would be worthwhile.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll get around to that. It'd be fun to make a list of my favorite books, TV shows, movies, comics.
It's a long list.
It'll be a long list, but it'll be a good list. Sure, I'll do that. But if you just kind of watch a number of the Mr. Sci-Fi videos, you can really get a line on what I really like. Obviously 2001, obviously Alien and Aliens, obviously Blade Runner, so forth. So, okay, great. So anything else? No, I guess it's my turn, me.
Yes.
Well, whew, I'm a little tired. I'm feeling a little bit of jet lag. Um, it was an amazing trip, and I worked out every other day, and so I run for 35 minutes on Hampstead Heath, which is this amazing parkland near where we were staying in Hampstead, just phenomenal with swans in the water and lakes and just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Going to Hay on Wye was amazing because it's a bookstore town, and I got a lot of cool books there, used books and antiquarian books, phenomenal stuff. And it was a great time. And oh, hold on, let's see. Yeah, Elaine's got some tea. But things are going great. We're finishing 101 and 102, the first 2 hours of Space Command. It's looking great. We're shooting the final part of the next story, and on and on. We're getting ready to shoot Sweet Haven, the show we're creating with Rocky O'Bannon. We're shooting the pilot of that. It's got an amazing cast. Everything's going good. We have to keep raising money. The next Kickstarter campaign is going to be in the millions of dollars. That's the plan. So that's going to be interesting. And it just keeps going. Life is great. So I can't really say more than that. We've got a whole bunch of boxes we mailed from England full of books and artwork and so forth. And I'll be sharing some of that with you guys online in the near future. And meantime, just keep going. And if you have, a bunch of money you want to throw our way, it gets things done faster. We're going to be having the red carpet premiere of the first 2 hours of Space Command at the Chinese Theater. Probably late June, maybe July, but probably late June. Elaine and my anniversary is June 25th, and it'd be really, really wonderful to be able to do it then. It'll be our 45th anniversary, so that'd be great. So we'll see if we can pull that off. So that's the main news from now. So anything else? I think we've covered it. Thanks to everyone for being here. Thanks for. Oh yeah, Carol, you have your hand up.
Thank you. Are we meeting here next week still on Zoom?
Yes. I'm gonna send an email out to the table to see if people are ready to start meeting in person again. But obviously anyone who doesn't feel comfortable with that is welcome to feel that way. So
Bruce Moore says happy anniversary.
Well,
yes. Thank you.
We're going to try. What we're trying to get is the comfort level of the table.
Yes.
Which understandably goes up and down as the plague goes up.
Sure. And down. But again, we're going to be starting in person really soon. But we'll probably keep this Zoom call somehow as part of things. We'll see. And the simulcast. And then beyond that, one funny thing was when we were in England for the UK and England and Wales for 3 weeks, and every night we'd come back to our room and watch an episode of Downton Abbey. So that was
we're almost caught up.
Yeah, we're almost through the whole show, and but it was just kind of we watched The Gilded Age on HBO, and that led us to Downton Abbey, and it just seemed very funny to be watching such a quintessentially British show in England. So. Anyway, that's it for now.
I didn't watch that show forever. Everyone
Yeah.
said, "Oh, it's so great, so great, so great." I'm like, okay, we're too much.
Yeah.
Finally, a long time later, and I was so hooked. I could not stop. I binge watched.
Yeah.
I watched the movie first in the theater.
Wow.
Yes.
And then I backed up and I watched them all. It was terrific.
Great. Well, that's
very
yeah.
surprised.
And I just noticed also on Mr. Sci-Fi, Jeff Nicholas just gave us some dough. So thank you very much. It would be put to a good use.
Jeff Nicholas.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And again, we're still selling Space Command shares for $7,500 each. You get a percentage of my producer's net profits, and we also have a new deal where you can invest in the Showrunners Network, but that's significantly more money to invest in that because it's 6 shows. And you would get a percentage of my producer's net profits on all 6. And so that could potentially be a lot of money in return. So that's about it for now. So thanks, guys. Subscribe to Mr. Sci-Fi if you haven't. And the table keeps going. And life is good. So thanks, guys. We'll see you all next time. Stay well. Stay safe. And take care. Bye, guys. Bye. Talk soon. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Take care. Okay.